There are plenty of Chinese robot vacuums. The only question is there a machine that can stand out? Any machine belonging to the Xiaomi ecosystem in terms of price, but then nice performance and Hungarian capabilities. Hopefully this video will make that clear for you too. I didn't actually plan to make this video. I was just asked to write a simple article, but this machine named Narwal has caught my attention so much, it seems so good, that I thought I definitely need to make a short video presentation. But I suggest to you already now to look for the link under the video here on YouTube, which leads to the writer's article. There, with good chances they could get acquainted with much more skills. Many more could write everything down there than what I will be able to say here for you guys. I'll give it a try. We will need to simplify this topic because this vacuum cleaner is equipped with an immense amount of features, and somehow I have to convey this to you in a reasonable amount of time. Let's start with the fact that Narwal is a completely new company. Two vacuum cleaners were launched to the market. The smaller one arrived first. This vacuum cleaner in size, appearance, shape looks like a completely average robot vacuum cleaner. An average laser-equipped robot vacuum, as you can see on top. Here is this gun tower where the laser sensor rotates inside, mapping out the sheet. So at first glance, this vacuum cleaner doesn't seem to hold anything special, but it's a standard laser robot. However, when we start looking at the specifications, we will realize that we are not talking about an average vacuum cleaner, but rather an average vacuum cleaner. How can we infer that? From the fact that an average vacuum cleaner is found in front of three types of sensors. There is a letter on top for mapping. There's a collision sensor and infrared sensors below and on the sides, and that's pretty much it. On vacuum cleaners, we now find two lasers, one on top for mapping, the other in front to aid with obstacles. However, this specimen does not have two lasers, but three, because it is not just on the roof. And on the front cover, we find a laser, and this is the side sensor. Usually, this is an infrared sensor that determines the distance from objects. And here, with this vacuum cleaner, there's also a laser. Another interesting thing is that this vacuum cleaner has more to offer. An ultrasound. There's also a distance measurer on the bottom, meaning it not only sees if it's by the stairs, this does not only know the possible, but it can also determine how high this staircase is. Here you can already tell that we are not talking about an average machine, since it has so many sensors. Well, it's unusual for these many laser sensors to be in a standard robot vacuum version. Let alone, and I'll go further, even premium robots usually don't have this many laser sensors. But here, this story doesn't end, as this vacuum cleaner offers quite a formidable suction power. The manufacturer says there's a suction power of 7,800 pascals in the machine. To know where to place this value, you need to know that the robot's S8 with its 200,000 forints, 6,500 Pascal, the Boroboro Q8 460,000 forints, even though it has a suction power of 5,500 pascals, that means the 7,800 Pascal suction power really stands out in the suction power of the more expensive robot vacuums. From this group as well, so in terms of vacuuming capabilities, it's very likely there won't be any issues with this machine problem. And the list of interesting things doesn't end here yet. After all, there are still many features that cannot be found in other machines, or even if they can be found, those two, they are rather in the premium category, much more expensive machines. For instance, the MOP. At first glance, the mop at the bottom of the machine looks like a completely simple mop. It received a fabric covering, there's nothing interesting inside. The attachment is definitely strange, surprising, or interesting in that it is magnetic, so you don't have to snap it in place, just magnetic. They hold their place on their own. What's also interesting is that this mop gets water not from two, not from three, but from four places. So it's really well soaked, very evenly soaked. And yet, that's not the most interesting thing about this mop, but rather that this mop, just like the top machines from Roborock, it can be lifted and lowered. When we lower it, when the machine mops, it presses with the force of 6 newtons. When it reaches the edges, it can lift the bumper up to 9 millimeters. This 9 millimeters is important because in an average machine where there are desires to extinguish fires, where this ability exists at all, there can be fought. They usually produce 6mm rice. Of course, the interesting features are far from over, especially with this vacuum. The manufacturer used a very special cylindrical brush. It says it has a needle certificate for it. That this cylinder brush does not wind up the hairs, but these hairs and fabric fibers immediately go into the dust spots. In fact, the manufacturer says this is a floating brush, which means the brush doesn't touch the floor, but picks up the dirt, captures the image in such a way it collects larger dirt without scrubbing or brushing the floor. So here's the next interesting thing, this brush. But we're still not at the end of things, because if you remove the cover, which again is attached here with a magnetic mount, then we find a relatively large 280 billion water tank with a pump capacity of liters. Essentially, this isn't a big novelty anymore. One thing should definitely be known. Remember, if you buy a siphon machine, you should preferably not use tap water. Put an ion exchanger in it, because these gadgets are sensitive to lime scale. They can quickly deteriorate from water bonding. However, this water tank is much more interesting than that. The powder tank is relatively large. A tank whose interesting point is that the manufacturer has finally come to realize that with these tanks, there's really a big problem. We need this to snap off the filter or somehow open the front panel so we can collect the filter. They apply the method that manufacturers of upright vacuum cleaners have been using for quite some time, which is the one-button solution. Button-operated dustbin emptying. With this dustbin, we only need to press a single button here, and the bottom of the dustbin opens. It dives into the garbage bin. Incredibly simple and incredibly practical, and I don't understand why nobody thought of this solution before. And if you think that this is the most interesting thing about this dust container, then I still have to say that no, I can encounter something much more interesting, because the manufacturer said in the specification that this machine for 49 days, that is for 7 weeks, we don't need to touch its dust container. The machine can operate for 49 days without any need for maintenance. The tank, I then thought that this was an incredibly ugly text, given the distance only a fool would consider. Robot vacuums with self-emptying docks can, after all, there's the dust container from the vacuum. The dock extracts the dirt into a dust bag, and we can say to empty it every 49 days. But it turns out that I found such a device in the package. In fairness, I didn't understand what it was supposed to be. Well, I tried to remove this plastic bag, but it turns out it's glued on. And then I realized that this is a dust bag with a capacity of 1 liter. Not a 1 liter plastic container, but this dust bag. And we can place this dust bag in lieu of the container. And the dust bag, when it's charged, fills up the dirt. Then we have a 1 liter capacity. With a normal vacuum cleaner, the tank size doesn't usually reach half a liter, let alone 1 liter. So this is another case like that. I don't even know why manufacturers haven't dealt with this before, why they haven't come up with such smart solutions, like this replaceable disposable dust bag. Moreover, the instruction says that due to the strong suction power, the dirt stays longer in this dust bag. Then it will be able to compress twice as much as an average robot vacuum. Again, this means that not only the dust container, its capacity doubles. The level of compression means, therefore, that you won't need to touch the dust compartment twice, 4 times as long as with a regular average robotic dustbin on the suction side. Along with that, I can tell you, I think the 49 days is, to put it mildly, excessive, since on average, in the calyxis of a daily used robot vacuum, you need to empty the tank every 2 to 3, but in a very good scenario, every 4 days. If we multiply this by 4, we still only get 16 days. And where is the 49 days in comparison to this? Nowhere, right? So I can tell you this solution is incredibly practical, incredibly smart, a thing of finesse, but it can do 49 days. These vacuums have a very important thing, which I always highlight and tend to buy. I often mention this, and that's the software issue. Unfortunately, Xiaomi has been almost unbeatable in this regard, as Xiaomi software every tweet. Għandix li pesti machine, I dare say the software competes with the Roborock, Viomi, Dremi, and other machines of software. It's incredibly professional. There are really good map editing features and, of course, multiple maps. So it supports cleaning a multi-story building. Obviously, this requires good mapping solutions. The basics are naturally included. So if the earth mapped out if we renovate our apartment, we can open up the spaces, we can disassemble, we can rename, but with this machine, some extra features have been added. So far, we've mostly found it in robots. For example, we can specify that the floor in a given room, what it is made of. We can specify the location of carpet. We can give it, for example, furniture. It's Tuesday, but it's still not the best in this Postivo, not the most interesting in this Postivo. Suction device. In a standard vacuum cleaner, as in this one, our hearts can be set to Aries. Power is usually adjustable in several stages with this machine in 4. Adjustable mopping strength in 3 levels. This allows for control over how much water goes on the mop with this machine. Is adjustable, and this is generally how it works for all such robots, so it's not too special. However, what's even more special is that this machine has an automatic mode, which is the freeze mode. With the freeze mode activated, the machine it automatically adjusts the suction power inside our home, as well as the mopping and vacuuming intensity. Performs. So, in terms of capabilities, this machine, it's absolutely. It represents a premium quality in appearance, material selection, assembly, skills, and software. There's just one question left. Okay, everything's good, everything's beautiful, the paper form is great, but still how? And from this perspective, there be both good news and bad news. I'll start with the bad news. Unfortunately, these machines' obstacle recognition just as terrible as the new Roborock machines. These objects, they are smaller and lower by the windowsill. This machine simply doesn't see it. It absolutely doesn't care about cables scattered around the room, entangling and dragging everything. It pushes Duplo or Lego bricks ahead of it on the floor, so it's not perfect. It naturally notices larger objects and avoids them. There's no issue there. Besides, there's also a software glitch, which I believe will be addressed eventually. They'll fix it. Sometimes it gets stuck right in the middle of the room, starts to turn a bit right, left, then jumps and moves on, and then continues cleaning. So from that perspective, this machine is not perfect. From a cleaning perspective, it's absolutely flawless. The 7,800 suction power is there, and it doesn't make the machine loud. I made a test liver with cocoa flour, rice and soup processed, pocky, yumasishi, ghee rice and 2 pearls. I was a bit afraid that these 2 pearls would crumble in the dish, but it didn't turn out that way. She collected everything without fail. Cocoa, flour, ultra fine powders, rice. Even the pellets, they ended up whole in the container. Let's summarize. Here's this vacuum cleaner, which is clearly made to compete with Xiaomi. In terms of knowledge, it's already better in many aspects than Xiaomi, but it has the same flaws as Xiaomi does. The situation is that this machine about the same level of knowledge as the Xiaomi S8. The more it costs, the more suction power it has. The Xiaomi S8 costs 200,000 forints. This machine now in the introductory offer is 130,000. That 70,000 forints though, it really makes me think, and actually if I had to choose right now which machine to buy for 200,000, sorry, no Xiaomi, I meant Roborock. I always mix them up. So should I buy a Roborock for 200,000 or a Narwal for 130,000? I don't know what should deter me from buying Narva. That's all from his brain. I hope he covered quite a lot. That could debate machine's knowledge, but I say again, read my written article. You'll find the link in the video below on YouTube. You can find the link to purchase and the discount code. Under the video where now for this 130,000 forints I'm challenging you. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you liked it. I'll be back next week with another test of some sort. Until then,